Welcome to Codex, a history of video games. I'm Mike Coletta.
And I am Tyler Osby.
And this is episode 100.
I'm like, this is a party hat. I put my party hat on. I got one of those things you blow in. It goes, what are those
I have
called?
a disco ball. Just like 18 disco balls hanging off my ceiling right now. That's how excited I am right now. Yep. And they're all
Incredible.
Doom-themed. Covered in
all
blood.
Doom-themed disco balls. Why are they Doom-themed?
Oh, man. So today, we're actually doing something a little different. We are talking about a video game movie, and it is the Doom movie from 2005, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
And Carl Urban.
And it's you got some notes on production, right, Tyler? And then we're going to kind of talk about our little thing, and then we'll tell you a little bit more about what else is going on with episode 100.
Yeah, so we thought we'd do something a little bit differently, talk about this Doom movie here. So Doom was a movie released at the end of 2005, about a year after Doom 3 came out. It has almost nothing to do with Doom the game. Mostly, like, there's a couple of demons in there. The general idea of, like, shooting bad guys is still the same, and it takes place mostly on Mars. So it's, like, kind of loosely based on Doom the series. But we are stoked about it to watch that because we recorded a commentary track that we'll be dropping later this week, so you can sync it up with the movie and listen to us talk about Doom while we watch it for the first time.
We're gonna like get them all revved up and excited about Doom, and then this week, like on Wednesday, they can actually listen to it and watch it with us.
That's right. Yeah. You can find your own copy of it on Blu-ray or HD DVD or regular DVD
or VHS.
It even came out on VHS as far as I can tell. I looked for it on eBay and I couldn't find it. So maybe it didn't sell too well on VHS, which is probably true because it, really didn't sell too well at all. And by 2005, people weren't really buying VHS tapes, or 2006 when it came out on video. So it's probably not a whole lot of Doom VHS tapes lying around, but it did come out on VHS. So the story of the Doom movie goes all the way back to 1995. And I mean, this is the story of the movie itself, not the story that's told in the movie.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the story in the movie.
We will talk about that. Yeah. So it goes all the way back to 1995 at the height of the original Doom and Doom 2's popularity. So as was customary at the time, and I suppose kind of still is to some extent, popular video games would often have some studio attached to make a movie. So not all these movies ended up actually happening, and even fewer of those movies were actually any good. Like, for instance, the Super Mario Brothers movie, which I still maintain is an absolute classic, starring Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo before he made it big. Now, that movie's not great, but it actually did pioneer some digital film techniques that hadn't really been done before by the early 90s. So that was pretty neat.
Yeah, the Mario movie.
Doom movie.
The Mario movie's 100% a classic. It has to be.
I agree. So the Doom movie pioneers also an interesting film technique, which to some mixed results. We'll talk about that. It's towards the end of the movie. But the Doom movie went through a little bit of what's known as in the biz as production hell in the early 90s, which is appropriate being a movie about Doom. There were a lot of different stars attached to it, including Arnold Schwarzenegger at one point, but ultimately the original concept for the Doom movie had to be shelved in 1999 because of the Columbine school shooting in Colorado. We talked about that a little bit on the show before because the perpetrators were avid players of Doom. And so when the news started reporting that these kids played Doom, it sort of reignited those questions from the early 90s about whether or not video games affects kids and make them do violent stuff. So ultimately, I think history is on the side of gamers. I think at this point, it would have been a pretty bad idea to release a Doom movie. So they shelved it. Until 2004, or late 2005 is when it was released, but I'm sure they started making it in 2004, when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson signed on to be one of the main characters, and turns out by the end to be a bad guy. And now we're all smelling what The Rock is cooking.
He's super young in this movie. I was looking at man, young Rock.
It's very much like the beginning of his movie career. Like, he had already done The Mummy and like Scorpion King, I think, and Walking Tall by that point. But he was still kind of at a point in his movie career where I think he kind of had to take what was given to him. And, it's hard to tell whether a movie's going to be great or not. I'm sure when you just have a script and you're like, this Doom movie could be great. People love the video game. I want to be attached to this, right? And it didn't do so well at the box office. It had a budget of $60 to $70 million is what Wikipedia says, and it only made back about 58.8 million of that worldwide. So it was not a great investment for Universal. to do.
But I mean, The Rock probably got paid pretty good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he probably got paid. Everybody who was in it, I'm sure they got paid. But if you're wondering why they didn't make a Doom sequel movie, it's mostly because the first one did not do so well. Although last October, Doom Annihilation was released direct to video. I haven't seen it. Don't know anything about it. Don't know if it's even related. But I do know that it is a movie based on the Doom video game property. So we may have to check that out at some point too.
I didn't know this. Did you read this part? That the early scripts of it actually featured like Caco demons and like archvilles and stuff, but they actually cut them out for budgetary reasons.
Wow. They would have inflated the budget even more than what it was able to make back, apparently.
Also the Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg, two very now famous like movie producers, directors, writers, were actually wanted to be like almost hired to polish the script's dialogue, and then they declined.
They turned it down. They were like, we can't save this.
Yep. So it just
by 2005, when did Shaun of the Dead come out? Was that already out?
That was a little bit before, I think. You gotta look that up.
Shaun of the Dead. So,
go ahead.
So they were 2004. So they were like they were big names at this point because Shaun of the Dead had come out.
They don't really talk about how many script iterations there were of it, but you got to think there are a lot because on the Wikipedia page it does say at one point it was really like adapting more of Doom 3's elements to it, and you can still see that I think in the movie when you watch it.
Yeah, but a lot of the aesthetic is Doom 3 for sure.
Yeah, but they abandoned a lot of that Doom lore for the movie to make it their own, which I actually don't mind the story they did. It was kind of more contained this way, you know?
Yeah, and to be honest, Doom is never really known for its like great storyline or wonderful lore, you know, rich and deep world building. I don't think was really a priority. Although I think
they've done a lot better job with Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. It's a lot better now.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, but with what they would have had to work with at the time, they probably were definitely better off just making their own lore for the movie.
Definitely. So yeah, I mean, it was. I actually enjoyed this more than I thought.
Me too. I thought it was going to be bad. I was so sure it was going to be bad that when I was writing the notes before we watched this, I typed up some notes for this. I wrote in that it was a disaster and I had to change it afterwards because it was not a disaster, at least in terms of story and movie making. I think it was okay.
Did you see the Roger Ebert quote about this movie?
No.
Quote, Doom is like some kid came over and is using your computer and won't let you play. Oh, it's fantastic. Oh, wow. Man. Yeah, here's like, I wrote down a bunch of things that I thought were funny or enjoyed. This is kind of like Mike and Tyler going through what they liked about the movie. We just did the history section. It's very short. There's not a lot about the game. But do you want to do the plot summary, I guess? We could do this together. We could piece together the parts as a group.
Yeah, okay. So plot summary. We begin
on Mars.
Nevada. Oh, we begin on Mars.
Yeah. Well, no, it tells you about Nevada first. It tells you there's like this, what happened in Nevada. They discovered this archaeological site that has a portal through it that takes you to Mars. Scientists are working at the UAC, which is actually from Doom, the United Aerospace Corporation. Like that's an actual Doom thing, exists in this world. And there's like an archaeological dig site on Mars. Crazy stuff happens, and then everyone dies. And so The Rock and his team of Marines are sent to Mars to figure out what happened and save the scientists initially is their like mission. And then one of the Marines has a history on Mars. This is a subplot I actually enjoyed. I thought they did this. Yeah. This made it a little bit better than it could have been if they just went there. And his sister is one of the scientists on Mars, and their parents died in a horrific accident on Mars, and you don't know much about it. And then they reveal it at one point, and then they never mention it again, which is just classic bad movie fare. To just give up on your whole thing.
Yeah, and then they just never talk about it again.
And then hilarity ensues. And when I say hilarity, I mean gore and violence.
Yeah, zombies and demons. And so I guess they're not really technically demons. They're not like spawn of Satan.
It's hard
or anything
because
like that.
I don't want to spoil too much right now because if people are going to watch the movie with us on Wednesday, but at the same time, we can't just say spoilers right now and spoil it. What do you think?
I think we can talk about it. Look,
yeah, okay.
I think if you're watching this movie, you're not watching it because it's like some grand mystery that you're like, you know, I wouldn't say they're spoilers because I don't think telling somebody the storyline of this movie is a spoiler. It doesn't spoil the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all about that gratuitous violence and action scenes.
Yeah. And horror movie tropes everywhere. Love it.
Oh, all over the place. So essentially what you learn from the scientists is that the scientists are actually the demons, and there's a 24th chromosome found that makes either people super soldiers or horrible, terrible demon monsters, depending on if your psyche is bent to being good or evil.
Yeah.
So that's how the demons are created. And so it ends up being that in order to fight the demons, our hero, who is the brother of the doctor, ends up getting shot up with the chromosome so he can become essentially the Doom Marine. He becomes Doom Guy.
Yeah.
And he becomes the good guy. Now, is that sadden me because there's no portal and demons in hell? Yes, it saddens me a little bit. But I feel like for a movie that's an hour and 45 minutes long, it really wraps things up together in a nice little bow.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a couple issues, though, with the movie.
Okay.
One, why is the portal in Nevada? You know, is it because Nevada deserts are like a creepy place? Is that why? Like UFOs?
Yeah, that's a great question. That, you know, it might have something to do with UFOs. I wonder if there's sort of, I don't want to say a connection between like this and like Thor, because there's like a portal found in Nevada also. But I wonder if they're both drawing from some kind of shared lore that like makes portals more likely to be found in Nevada, or maybe it's just
is it because
just a
portals like legal gambling and prostitution? Is that why?
Maybe, could be.
Everyone knows that's what aliens love.
Yeah, that's true. Las Vegas, the wretched hive of scum and villainy going on down there.
That's right. It is the most maybe of our time. The one thing that you and I know both loved, the Doom music that they essentially throw in when the action stuff starts, is really 90s Doom music, and it's great.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I love it. I love it so much.
They absolutely nail the music for sure.
Okay, this is a personal question kind of about Doom. Do you like the old music better than the new Doom music? Because Doom Eternal and like Doom 2016, it's straight up metal. There's like guitar riffs and things are getting crazy. But the old Doom, it's like what they could do on the system, you know? So it's I kind of like the old stuff a little bit.
The old stuff has a character to it that is like, because you know they're working with those limitations. I think that so in the original Doom, the music is there to be sort of a background, right? And like sort of set the mood a little bit and like kind of like tell you like, hey, here's what kind of thing you're doing. The music in Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal is like part of the game itself. It like gets you just absolutely pumped up because it's like timing, it's like timed perfectly, and it like the music sort of matches like with what you're doing a bit, whereas like it's just background music that doesn't change no matter what you're doing in Doom, in the original Doom games. So I think for the purposes of what music should do in a video game, the newer ones do that better, but there is a character to those original games that just feels nice, and like I like hearing it.
I just like that sound, like the doom, like in the background, you know, it just feels right. Mm-hmm. I just love it. So there's
some good atmospheric stuff going on there.
There really are. So essentially the team of Marines is something that I love because one, they, as Tyler describes, they all have laser tag code names. Like as a kid, when you played laser tag, this would be your code name. I'm going to read the code names to you right now. Destroyer, Reaper, Portman, Rookie, Sarge, and Duke, who in my mind is 100% the Baked Beans dog. 100%. But the Marines are all like quirky, but they're also like, this movie did not age well as far as like sexual harassment and misogyny goes.
Oh yeah, not great.
It is not good because the Marines are all scumbags and they're all disgusting. But there's one, his name is Portman, and we figured out who he was in the middle of the commentary. He's 100% the guy who kills Bruce Wayne's parents in the Batman Begins, Batman Beyond movie trilogy. Yeah. Not Beyond, Batman Begins, Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah. Like, and I was trying to figure out who he was, and I'm so glad you put that together because I was like, I recognize this face.
Yeah, we were like, is that the guy from Watchmen? Is that, who's this guy?
Yeah, I just love the scene where Duke is like helping Dr. Grimm like do this autopsy, and he's like grossly hitting on her at the same time. And I'm like, now's the time. You're all like, want to get set on this space station full of demons.
On Mars,
flirting.
Yeah. She's like elbow deep in like reaching her hand inside a demon's chest to like pull something out. and he's like gross hitting on her. It's disgusting.
It's absolutely disgusting. But the Marines are funny in their own right. The one I feel bad for the most is Rookie. Rookie's the one you feel bad for. He doesn't have it well. Yeah.
He does drugs, and then Carl Urban gets mad at him, and that's it. That's the last we hear of the drugs thing.
Yeah, at least Destroyer had that cool fight scene in the prison cage thing.
Yeah, that was neat with the alien, or like the demon that looked like an alien from Aliens.
That was great. By the way, what you put together that I didn't put together about Reaper's name, you should explain that.
Oh yeah, so codename Reaper is John Grimm, who has chosen the codename Reaper, which just makes so much sense now. I didn't put that together, but I just did like a few minutes ago. And then his sister, of course, is Dr. Grimm. So
it's just
putting two and two together there.
They're just like beating you with metaphors over your head during this whole movie. What's another thing? Okay, I love The Rock. We should all state that right now. Okay. Big fan of The Rock. Everyone loves The Rock. His heel turn in this movie is strange because he does have a justification for turning. All his Marines die, and then he gets really mad. He's like, we got to shut this down. We got to contain it. All my Marines are dead. Da, da, da. But then, spoilers, big spoilers, he kills the Rookie for not following his orders, which just seems super contradictory, you know?
And proves that he's truly a demon, and so when he gets infected, he doesn't become a superhuman. He becomes a demon. And
you get that sweet, sweet portal thing that happens.
Yeah.
Which portals, by the way, in this movie look
lots
real
of
gross.
portals.
They look real gross too. Oh, the nano walls. The nano walls are cool.
Yeah, those are neat. They're like walls that sort of open up, but I don't know how to explain it.
So it's like they have like this force field stuff that you could shoot through on them. And then when you close the door, instead of the door closing like a conventional door, the force fieldy stuff like turns on nanoparticles that just make it look like a wall instead of a door.
Yeah, it just turns into concrete basically.
Exactly. And so there's a lot of gags about people getting stuck in the nano doors and demons, you know,
losing their arms and bodies.
What is it? They also are obsessed with arms and hands in this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of limb removal.
I mean, I feel like for a demon movie, you got to have that though.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the big final scene? That's way longer than we both thought it was.
Yeah, well, it's in the trailer for this movie, so I don't think it's necessarily
it's not a spoiler.
But when John Reaper Grimm gets dosed up with the extra chromosome thing that either turns you into a zombie or makes you a superhuman, he, of course, becomes a superhuman because he's Doom Guy and he's actually a good guy. But that whole sequence from when he wakes up after being injected for like the next like 10 or 15 minutes, it's truly a long sequence, is all in first person. So he picks up a gun and starts shooting demons like you're playing Doom. It's like watching somebody play Doom in first person. And I applaud that they really went for it. I'm not sure that it works out the way they wanted to. Like it's just not that cool.
Long.
It's so
like,
long.
It's so long that it ruins its like magic.
It overstays its welcome. I kind of thought in seeing the trailer for this, I thought that scene would be like he would kill like 2 or 3 zombies and it would be like, oh, we saw it in first person, like it's an homage to the games. Okay, great, but like back to being a movie. But it's like 10 minutes of just first person zombie killing, and there's probably some people out there that would get sick from that.
I was just about to say that if you have motion sickness, it is not the scene for you. Although like I do love that the guy who's named Pinky and is like in a wheelchair becomes a demon that looks a lot like Pinky's from the games.
Yeah, he becomes straight up a Pinky demon. Like it's like very obvious what they're going for there, and I appreciate that a lot.
I was into it because there's not really a lot of like Doom. I wanted to see Doom demons, you know?
Yeah. Like, that's really the only Doom demon, I think.
Well, the demons that are like they turn into the soldier guys do look not like Hell Knights, but what's the one that's above an imp but not a Hell Knight? You know, in Doom, they're just like, you know what I'm talking about? Maybe they're just called devils or something. I don't know, but they're like, hold on, I'll look it up. But you keep talking.
You talking about original Doom or Doom 2016?
I'm talking about Doom 2016. Let me look up the Doom 2016 bad guys.
I think they looked more like some of the like random bad guys in Doom 3, the ones that are just zombies that are just kind of there to be killed because they got like blood all on their face. So that's what I thought they looked most like, was just random Doom 3 grunts. But that's pretty much it. And those are pretty generic zombies, so it's hard to say like, oh yeah, they're from Doom. But Pinky Demon, definitely from Doom. I didn't recognize anything else, I feel like. Yeah. There were definitely some like different kinds of demons, but nothing that I recognized from the game.
I thought they were prowlers. Here, I'm sending you a link right now in Discord.
Oh, okay.
That's what I thought they looked like.
Oh, sure.
Which I could see prowlers as being a thing. They also have these gross long tongues. It's nasty. Yeah. Oh, also, the other guy who I didn't even include on the list of Marines is the super religious guy named Goat. Greatest of all time. That's probably what it's for. But he has this weird, like, religious thing where he, like, cuts himself for saying the Lord's
but they never really come back to that.
Yeah, they throw things out in this movie and they don't, and then they just walk away from them. That's what this whole movie is, essentially. Yeah. Also, Pinky just lets Portman die, and I don't think that's very, like, it's just like, he's a person, dude. Like, how evil is Pinky?
Well, enough to turn into a demon when he gets infected, I guess.
I guess that's true. I just the movie, I want to say the movie is better than I thought it was, but it definitely has those video game movie problems, you know?
Yeah. Where they like shoehorn in some video game stuff to this movie that was probably not originally written to be a video game movie.
Exactly. What do you think could be a good video game movie? Like like what game series could be? I feel like Zelda could be a movie. You don't think so?
No, there's no story.
It's a long quest. It's a really long quest.
Yeah, like the fun in Zelda, or like the reason Zelda is an entertaining thing is because you're doing stuff in it. Like I don't think I would ever, like if there was a story that was so good for Zelda that it could be a movie, it would probably not be a very good Zelda story.
It would also be really long. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we already know Pokemon can be a movie by Detective Pikachu. That's for sure.
Yeah. That's what you have to do, I think, is you can't just like say, I take this game and make a movie out of the story of this game. You have to sort of just take a world, like a video game world, and just write your own story for it.
Could Dead Space be one? But then again, Dead Space is just a ripoff of Alien, essentially. Sorry, people.
Yeah,
I'm sorry if I offended you just by now saying that. I only played like the first 30 minutes of Dead Space, so I'm really talking out of turn here. You know, there's really big Dead Space fans. I'm trying to think of like a good video game. I guess like the world of Skyrim or Elder Scrolls could have a movie in it, you know? That could be fun.
Yeah.
It would be very
you could
Lord
build
of the
a movie
Ringsy.
inside that world. Yeah.
The Witcher. Yeah. There you go. I mean, the TV show. Boom.
Yeah, well, but The Witcher started out as a book too, so it had a deep storyline.
Yeah.
Before it became a game. Yeah. Well, I think that the goals of video games and the goals of movies, like in terms of how they want to entertain you, there's some overlap there sometimes, but I think they're distinct enough that you wouldn't want to just take something from like the same thing is for like video games based on movies, right? Like for the most part, they're not that great because you're taking the storyline that didn't have video game elements into it and sort of shoehorning video game elements into it. Like the games, the best video games based on movies were ones that just didn't pay attention to what the movie was doing at all and just did its own thing. Like
Episode 1 Racer.
Yeah. Like it was just like, let's take this element of this world and build a game out of it and not try to tell the Star Wars Episode 1 storyline in a video game.
Yeah, I feel like, I'm just going to take it. So if Halo was a movie, it would have to be something really self-contained and not about Master Chief. 100%.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, Master Chief is not a deep enough character to make a movie out of. Like, I love playing as Master Chief, and that's one of the reasons he makes a good video game character is because it's very easy to put yourself in his shoes because he doesn't have a whole lot of backstory. I mean, I know he has, I'm sure there's like Halo nerds out there being like, well, actually, he has tons. Like, I know that, but that's not the reason the game itself is so good, right? The game itself is good is because the game is fun. And like, I guess you could tell that story, like, but I wouldn't even want that story to be told about Master Chief. I think you'd have to just take that world of Halo and tell a different story in it.
What if we did a movie that was Animal Crossing and it was just an adorable, like anteater just cleaning a house for 2 hours? I'd watch that movie.
I'd watch that for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Give me all those bells, Tom Nook. I want those bells. Overall, I think this movie, though, I think it's worth watching, especially if you're like a horror movie or action movie fan. It does have it checks all the boxes, I feel like, for that. It's just...
Yeah, it feels like...
It
feels like a B movie from that era of like the effects are okay. It's like a B movie that got a little bit more budget than it should have got, you know?
Yeah.
You ever watch like crappy B movies?
Oh, yeah. I'm into them.
Like Transmorphers is one of my favorites. Where they're movies that are just clearly named so that somebody will mistake it at the like rental store.
What was the one? So when The Matrix came out, there was also a movie called Equilibrium that came out at the same time with Christian Bale.
If you're trying to tell me that Equilibrium is a crappy B movie, I'm going to fight you through the internet.
No, I'm not.
Right
I was
now.
actually about to tell you that movie was way better than I thought it was going to be.
That movie's so good. I love that movie.
That movie blew my mind as I thought it was a B movie because I'm like Equilibrium, The Matrix. Okay, they're trying to kind of be like, and it has the same color aesthetic with like a guy in like a trench coat and he's got guns, you know.
Yeah.
And he's got sunglasses. You're like, oh, they're just trying to rip off The Matrix. And then you watch it and you're like, oh, this is actually a really good movie.
Yeah.
Man. I don't know, man. I want video game movies to be good. I think is my problem. But I know, just like you're saying, that the way the translation from one medium to another just does not make it happen. And you're going to end up with a lot of dooms, you know?
Yeah. They're just designed to be entertaining in different ways, and to try to adapt it is very difficult. I will say Detective Pikachu, that was a pretty fun movie. But that's telling just a different story within this world of Pokemon. And one of the reasons that it was so fun was because it's fun to see this, like, okay, well, if this world exists, like, what is true in this world? And like seeing it fleshed out a little bit more than the games can do was really, really fun. I feel like there was another good video game movie that came out kind of recently.
I'm trying to think about it too. I mean, we had, Sonic.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I hear that one's okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen Sonic at all. I'm not sure.
Ready Player One, I wasn't a huge fan of.
Oh, you know what movie is really bad that we should watch for this series? Pixels. The Adam Sandler movie. And it's not really, it's like trying to get a bunch of video game movies together and make it work. The only good video game movie, now that I think about it, is Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, but
and
that's
because
not a
they
movie
made
about
up a video game. Yeah,
right. And it's not really about any particular game. It's got a lot of like video game references in it, but I would hardly call it a video game movie. I would just call it a movie made for video game fans.
Definitely. What was that one in the 80s, The Wizard, about the kid who's really good at video games?
Oh, yeah. That one, The Wizard. I think it was 1989 with Fred Savage. And it's got Jenny Lewis, too, the lead singer from Relo Kiley.
Oh, I thought The Wizard also... Well, go ahead.
Oh, she's the girl in that movie, and she makes a lot of music now. She's a very good singer. But yeah, that movie is fun, but it's also, I wouldn't call it a video game movie. It's just a movie about a video game, you know?
Dude, it's got Christian Slater in the movie also.
Oh, yeah.
This is the movie that made the Nintendo Power Glove like a thing.
Yeah, it's so bad. That's what he says about the Power Glove. And at the end, it's just a giant advertisement for Super Mario Brothers 3, which wasn't out in the United States yet when the movie came out. So it was like, that was how people could see what the new Super Mario Brothers movie was going to be. And yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's an okay movie, but it's a nice period piece of like 1980s, 90s aesthetic, you know? You go back and watch this and you're like, yep, that's some 80s, 90s movie right there.
Dude, so the real question is, and I think this is what the listeners all want to know. You ready? They want to know if we are going to watch Doom Annihilation from 2019 together.
I mean, I'm not saying no.
I'm not saying no either. I just want to know. It came out, if you didn't know, this movie is 2019, October 1st, 2019. It was direct to DVD release.
Oof.
Yeah. It has a 50% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 16% audience score.
Wow.
I feel like the audiences are usually nicer on Rotten Tomatoes too. That's what makes it so much more upsetting. And the storyline is they're on Phobos, and there is actually a Hellgate. Like, it's actually the old, the Doom story, I think, is mostly, is better off than the other one is. But yeah, it's too funny, man.
You know what movie I did kind of enjoy that came out? It, I guess, is very bad according to Rotten Tomatoes, but I actually kind of enjoyed the Ratchet and Clank movie that came out a few years ago.
Oh, I never saw that.
Yeah, it came out at the same time as the new game did. That was a remake of the original Ratchet and Clank. Very good remake if you haven't played it for PlayStation 4. The movie was okay. It was cute. I don't know. It was apparently very bad by Rotten Tomatoes standards, but it was okay.
You actually brought up a movie today while we were talking. I don't know if it was on the commentary or off, but the Need for Speed movie.
Oh, yeah, that has Aaron Paul in it.
It's not terrible. I saw that in theaters. It's not terrible.
Okay, well, that's
kind of like Doom. It's a lot like Doom, where you leave and you're like, that was a movie, but it wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
But it wasn't breathtaking or amazing. It was just an entertaining action movie.
I feel like the Tomb Raider movies in general are okay. Like the ones
the
with
the newest one.
I didn't see the newest one, but I remember the ones with
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie being kind of okay. Same with the Resident Evil ones, like just being this is
the
a
first
fine
Resident
movie, I
Evil
suppose.
movie I liked. I enjoyed thoroughly.
Yeah, Resident Evil. Where is it on this list here? 34% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Dude, you know what I could see being a movie? It's like a Borderlands movie where it's about a new Vault Hunter joins like a group of old Vault Hunters.
In production, I think, or
because that movie's already got like humor and it makes fun of itself, and you could do the same thing with movies where it makes fun of itself. You know what I mean? Like translate that over, and that's where the comedy comes from. I think that could work. Is a Borderlands movie.
I think there's a few movies that are upcoming here. I'm just looking at a list of video game movies on Wikipedia. So we've got an Uncharted movie. That's one that you might be able to tell a story because it's a fun, like Indiana Jones style adventure. So you might be able to tell a good story there. Borderlands is actually in development, apparently. Gears of War in development. Metal Gear Solid in development. These are all TBA. I think it just means somebody has the rights to them, probably. But yeah.
Actually, there was a fact in that Doom thing that said that Doom was a Warner Brothers movie, but then it sat for too long, and so they actually Universal got it because they took too long with the license. Which also we didn't mention, Universal logo is Mars. That's a cool feature.
At the beginning they changed the Universal logo. That was neat.
I like it when they do that. When they change the Universal logo or like the lion for Warner Brothers or whatever, you know.
Yeah, or
change
like I feel like the WB logo at the beginning of the Matrix is like all black and white and green.
Yeah. I'm into that.
I like when they do that.
So, I think that's pretty much good for today, right? You feel good
about
it?
Yeah, I feel good.
We know this episode's a shorter one, but you're about to get a 1 hour and 45-minute podcast commentary on Doom on Wednesday. So I feel like that's a good one to get going. Yeah. So thank you so much to everyone who's listened for 100 episodes. When we started this, I had no idea that people were going to be listening to this. It makes me feel very happy. And if you want to help us out, you can rate and review and subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts or on Apple Podcasts. Tell your friends about us. That would be super helpful too. And we can email us at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your favorite video game movie or what you think about our opinions. And if we're wrong, we want to hear from you. And with that, I think that's it. And so we'll see you all again this week on Wednesday. And you want to say bye to everybody, Tyler?
Yeah, goodbye, everybody.